But yeah, a lot of people are celebrating this because they think that Caitlin Clark's coming back. They think that this means Caitlin Clark coming back, and it means it's almost time.
Caitlin Clark could be on the verge of a shocking return to the WNBA before the playoffs. And yet, fans are split. Some say this is the miracle the league has been waiting for, the return of its biggest star at the perfect time. Others? They're furious, saying Indiana is rushing her back, risking her health, and exposing how desperate the Fever are after Sophie Cunningham's devastating injury.
So Sophie Cunningham obviously got hurt last night, and look, it's something pretty big. It's something pretty big in news. And if you guys agree that it's
So is Clark about to save the season? Or is this the latest chapter in a series of dangerous missteps by the Fever and the WNBA? Buckle up, because we've got to break this all down. Let's not sugarcoat this. Caitlin Clark's 2025 season has been an absolute roller coaster. After 4 perfect years at Iowa without missing a single game, and a Rookie of the Year WNBA campaign where she played every night, Clark has been battered by 3 separate injuries this year. First the quad, then the groin, then another setback on the same leg. It's been stop and start, heartbreak after heartbreak for Fever Nation. She's already missed 13 straight games and 24 total this season, including the All-Star Game and the Commissioner's Cup Final. For a player who is supposed to be the Iron Woman of this league, this is uncharted territory, and it's left fans and analysts asking one burning question: is Indiana doing enough to protect the biggest star the WNBA has ever had? Now, here's the kicker. Clark's absence hasn't just hurt Indiana, it's hurt the league. Ratings dip by over 50% when she doesn't play. Ticket demand flattens. Social media engagement dries up. The WNBA knows that Clark isn't just a player. She's the engine driving this entire growth spurt. That's why her return right before the playoffs would be the ultimate adrenaline shot for both the Fever and the league. But that's also why it's controversial. Fans know the Fever need Clark to make a real playoff push, especially now with Sophie Cunningham's injury gutting the backcourt. But if Indiana brings her back too soon and she re-injures that groin, that's not just a lost season, that's a franchise-level disaster. The stakes couldn't be higher. The real reason people are buzzing about Clark's comeback isn't just because she's been seen smiling at practice or because Fever fans are praying for it. No, it's the roster moves Indiana just made.
But yeah, so Kyra Lambert is a guard that kind of just never should have been in the league. Her contract ends on the 21st. They play on the 22nd. They cut her because it's pointless. I think they cut her because I think they cut her because they need a Sophie Cunningham replacement rather than Caitlin coming back. I think Caitlin's going to come back in August.
On August 14th, the Fever signed Kyra Lambert to a 7-day hardship contract. It made sense with Clark sidelined and both Ari McDonald and Sydney Colson already done for the year. Indiana was running out of guards. But then, just 4 days later, Lambert was released. She played 1 minute against the Sun, barely touched the ball, and then, poof, gone. In her place, the Fever doubled down on extending veteran Odyssey Sims, a move that raised eyebrows. Why release Lambert so quickly? Why extend Sims if you're about to get a guard back? Fans connected the dots. This wasn't random, this was a chess move. The Fever were clearing space because they expect Clark back sooner than anyone thought. And when you pair that with the team's mini break before facing the Minnesota Lynx, the league's best team, the timing starts to feel almost scripted. Clark hasn't played in over a month. The Fever are limping into the playoff stretch, and suddenly, the roster signals she could be ready. It's either one of the boldest gambles in WNBA history, or Indiana is about to pull off the ultimate shocker. Unleashing Caitlin Clark just in time for the biggest games of the year. Let's call it what it is. The only reason Caitlin Clark's comeback is even on the table right now is because the Fever are desperate. Sophie Cunningham's injury against the Connecticut Sun wasn't just bad luck. It ripped the heart out of this team's playoff push. Think about what Sophie has meant to Indiana this year. She wasn't supposed to be the savior. When the Fever signed her from Phoenix, most fans thought she was coming in as a role player, a shooter, an energy spark, someone who would get under opponents' skin. Instead, she became the backbone of this team whenever Caitlin Clark went down. She hit big shots, played physical defense, talked trash when others stayed quiet, and even carried the offensive load in stretches when Kelsey Mitchell couldn't find her rhythm. Sophie was the bridge between the Clark era and survival mode. Now, with Cunningham joining Sydney Colson and Arie McDonald on the season-ending injury list, the Fever are left with gaping holes in the backcourt. Think about this. Before Cunningham's injury, Indiana could afford to let Clark rehab slowly. They were sitting above .500. Stephanie White had them grinding out wins, and there was at least enough depth to keep pace with other playoff contenders. But now, that depth is gone. Without Sophie, Indiana's spacing collapses. She was shooting nearly 38% from deep since Clark went down, keeping defenses honest. She was also the emotional spark plug, the one diving on the floor, clapping in opponents' faces, and rallying the bench. Lose that, and the Fever suddenly look flat. And that's why the conversation around Clark's return feels different now.
She throws the pass and she immediately falls down on Sophie Cunningham's leg. So let's slow this down right here and let's basically watch this frame by frame. So Bria Hartley is throwing a pass right here. Kelsey Mitchell helps in. Sophie Cunningham, in fairness, is not fully helped over. Sophie Cunningham should be a step or two out in this scenario. And Bria Hartley goes and rises. Sophie Cunningham should be a little bit more over. She throws the pass. She is off balance by the looks of things here.
If Indiana tries to survive the next 2 weeks with just Kelsey Mitchell, Odyssey Sims, and Lexi Hull handling the perimeter, they're toast. Defenses will trap Mitchell, Boston will get doubled in the paint, and the Fever will fold against top-tier opponents like Minnesota and Washington. Fans know it. Analysts know it. And you better believe Indiana's front office knows it too. So the question becomes, do you risk Caitlin Clark's future to save your season right now? Because make no mistake, bringing her back early is a gamble. Groin injuries are tricky. They linger. They flare up without warning. And if Clark re-aggravates hers in the heat of the playoff chase, that's not just a lost season. That's a setback that could bleed into 2026 and beyond. But here's the other side of the coin. Without Clark, Indiana's playoff dream is already dead. That's the corner this team is backed into. Sophie's injury didn't just hurt, it exposed the truth. Caitlin Clark is no longer a luxury. She's the only hope left. And that kind of desperation is what makes this situation so dangerous. Now here's where things get even more controversial. Even before this latest injury, Caitlin Clark wasn't looking like Caitlin Clark. And that raises a brutal question. Even if she comes back, what version of her are we going to get? Her last 5 games before the groin injury? Ugly. Under 15 points a night, shooting under 37% from the field and barely 20% from 3. For a player who built her brand on jaw-dropping logo threes, fearless drives, and unstoppable scoring, those numbers scream struggle. The explosiveness wasn't there. The confidence wasn't the same. The player who once terrified defenses looked human. Now that's not all bad. Her playmaking was still elite. She averaged nearly 9 assists in that stretch, reminding everyone why she holds the single-season and single-game assist records in WNBA history. Even when her shot deserted her, Clark found ways to elevate her teammates. But let's be honest, the WNBA doesn't just want passer Clark, they want superstar Clark. The league is banking on her to deliver highlight reels, sell tickets, spike ratings, and carry narratives. That's the pressure she's under, and it's unfair.
I cannot believe that I had not seen this up to this point. I cannot believe that I had not seen this. But everywhere, and I mean it, everywhere Caitlin Clark has gone, she has been swarmed. Apparently, she's somewhere here. apparently she is somewhere here, and it's clear there are hundreds, if not thousands, of people showing up anywhere Caitlin Clark is at All-Star Weekend. Like,
imagine this. You're 23 years old. You've never been hurt in your life. And suddenly, in just your second pro season, your body betrays you 3 different times. You've missed over half the year. The media starts doubting you. Fans start whispering that maybe you're not as tough as advertised. And now, when you finally inch toward a return, you're expected to not just play, but save your franchise's playoff run and carry the entire league's postseason buzz. It's absurd pressure. And that's why some fans are pushing back. They're saying Clark shouldn't come back just to be a decoy or a rusty version of herself. If she's not 100%, let her sit. Protect the future. Don't risk the golden goose of women's basketball just because Indiana is desperate. But here's the flip side. This is Caitlin Clark we're talking about. This is the player who dropped 9 points in 38 seconds against the Liberty. The one who turned Iowa into must-see TV. The one who made the Fever the hottest ticket in sports. Clark has never been wired to sit back. If she's cleared, she'll want to play. And when she plays, the expectation will be that she dominates. So here's the reality. Clark isn't just fighting to get back on the floor. She's fighting against her own legend. Anything short of superstar production will be seen as a letdown. And that's the dangerous cycle she's walking into. Let's zoom out. This isn't just about Indiana Fever basketball. This is about the future of the WNBA. Right now, Indiana sits at 19-16. A solid record. Enough to stay in the playoff mix. But let's be real. Without Caitlin Clark, they're not a threat. They're just another middle-of-the-pack team. With her, everything changes. She stretches defenses, creates for teammates, and forces every opponent to change their game plan. More importantly, she changes the psychology of the matchup. Teams don't just prepare for Clark, they fear her. Now, add in the business side. We've already seen the numbers. Fever games without Clark lose half their viewership. Ticket prices plummet. The social media buzz dries up. Clark isn't just a player, she's an economic engine. And that's why the league is holding its breath on her return. If she comes back and sparks a playoff run, the WNBA ratings will explode. Playoff games will become national talking points. And the Fever could ride that momentum all the way to their first finals appearance since 2015.
Like, if they go 2-4 in those games. But at the end of the day, with that, I don't see this having anything to do with Caitlin Clark coming back. I think a lot of people are saying could mean more than that. Maybe Sophie's fine too. Because there was a chance Sophie was out, they would not do this.
But here's the nightmare scenario. What if she comes back too soon and gets hurt again? What if she limps through the final stretch, looks mortal, and Indiana still flames out early? That's not just a lost season. That's a credibility crisis. Fans will torch the Fever for rushing her. Analysts will rip the WNBA for not protecting its biggest star. And Clark's aura of invincibility could take a permanent hit. That's the razor's edge we're standing on right now. A healthy Clark makes the Fever dangerous, makes the playoffs must-watch, and makes the WNBA unstoppable. A broken Clark, that could set everyone back years. And that's why this story isn't just about sports. It's about identity. The Fever are gambling on their future. The WNBA is gambling on its growth. And Caitlin Clark is gambling on her body. The stakes couldn't be higher. This isn't just a comeback. It's a crossroads.
Immediately. Like, that's the thing. Like, if you, I mean this when I say, is turn on a WNBA game from 2014 and watch how bad some of those bench players are. The stars are still the stars. Like, to act like Elena Deladon wouldn't be dominating in today's game, to act like Maya Moore wouldn't be dominating in today's game is wrong. But, like, there's just random bench players that you're like, if they made a layup, you're happy. To be fair, there are some players in the current league right now, if they make a layup, you're happy.